Shalom, Mashpaka. May peace, serenity, and prosperity be multiplied unto you all. Kalala Bayaba Shema Mashak Yavasha, Barakatam Tawaba Halawaya, Daba Mashpaka. Welcome, everybody that's coming into the chat. Shalom to JGD already. So I'm going to try to make this live quick and to the point. I'm not going to try to take too much time on this, but I hope everybody who receives this word may be further edified and stronger in understanding. Shalom Swavy. So we're going to be talking about a subtle power. That subtle power is called faith. It's a subtle power and it's a necessity while we're living in these last days. Because here's the thing, some people get it misconstrued that, if you awaken to truth, you know who you are biblically, you know your true nationality, as the people of the book. When you know these things and you understand Yah in a greater light than you did before when you were in religion. Some people think that everything's just going to be all gravy from there. Everybody think that they won like the lottery or something. To an extent, you have. However, the challenges aren't going to stop. The challenges aren't going to stop. And Hashatan is only going to get more angry with you. So angry that him and his minions will hit you with haymakers. For lack of a better term, they'll hit you with haymakers in this walk. Shalom, Josephine Israel, welcome. So that's why we must have the armor of Yah. That's why we must have the armor of Yah. And while we're talking about the armor of Yah, before we even begin the lesson, let's go to that. Let's go to that. That's in Ephesians chapter 6. The armor of Yah. See, we got to remember to put this armor on every day. Okay. So, Swavy, that's an interesting question that you just asked. Now, I'm going to acknowledge your question, Swavy, but just for future reference, please be wise with the lesson. You don't want to stray off subject with questions that may off-rail what we're going to talk about. But I will address your question. So you ask if Christ's real name is Yahweh. You're close, but that's not the real name. Yahweh is a derivative of the original Hebrew. It's Yahweh Shai. Some people say Yahusha, but that's a derivative. That's the Hebrew being watered down. If you want the full, potent, original Hebrew, it's Yahawashah. The Almighty's name is within Hamashiach, which is aka Christ. The Almighty's name is within him. And he told us this in Exodus within our Torah. Okay? He told us this, and I'll get there real quick. Now just keep in mind, Swavy, from here on out, be sure to be listening with the Ruach Kodash, because see, here's the thing about spiritual wickedness. Spiritual wickedness knows these scriptures too. And they can sow confusion with the body by going off subject from the flow of the lesson. So that's why I always encourage everybody to listen by the Spirit, so that way you stay in sync with the edification that's going on. We let the Spirit move and guide the lesson. We don't go off our own wanderings and our own understandings. Every time I come on here and I do these lessons with y'all, I don't have anything written down. It's all through the Spirit. I don't know what I'm going to say when I get on these lessons. It all just comes out. I let Ruach Kodash lead me, and whatever said is said. But let me get that for you real quick, so you'll know that the Almighty's name is within our Savior, Hamashiach's name. So this is Exodus chapter 23, starting at verse 20. The Most High says, "Behold, I send an angel before thee to keep thee in the way and to bring thee into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him." Verse 22. "But if thou shalt indeed obey his voice and do all that I speak, then I will be an enemy unto thine enemies and an adversary unto thine adversaries." So here the Most High let our ancestors know, the ancestors during the Exodus out of Egypt, he let them know, hey, my son, Hamashiach Yahushua, is going to lead you throughout the wilderness. He's going to be doing a lot of these works. So listen to him. Obey him. Do not provoke him. He won't pardon your folly, because my name is in him. So when you take it back to the ancient Hebrew, we know that the ancient name of the Most High is Yahweh. There's no vowels in the Hebrew, the original Hebrew. There's no E's, there's no O's, there's no U's. There's no E's, O's, or U's. So we know his name's Yahweh, which means he is, or he exists. And going into Mashiach's name, it is, he is salvation. So he is salvation. And I hope that answered your question. Now we're going to go to Ephesians chapter 6. Ephesians chapter 6. Starting at verse 12. "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of Yah, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. So therefore, Aksha'al continues on by listing the components of the armor of Yah. He says, stand therefore having your loins girt about with truth. That's the belt of truth. And having on the breastplate of righteousness, which is the armor for your torso. And your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. That's the boots of peace. And then verse 16 is key. He says, above all, taking the shield of faith. So the most important component out of all the components of the armor is the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. Verse 17, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of Yah. Praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints. So always put that armor on. And above all, make sure you got that shield of faith ready. We're going to start off in the book of Sirach, chapter 2. Book of Sirach, chapter 2. Book of Sirach, that's Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, chapter 2. And it reads, my son, if thou come to serve Yahweh, prepare thy soul for temptation. So that goes back to what I was saying earlier. You know, it's not just going to be an easy road because you're in truth now. It's not going to be an easy road because you have a little bit more heightened biblical knowledge than you once before, than what you had before when you were just going by the guide of religion, by man-made systems of understanding a higher power. It's not just going to be all sunny days and chilling on the beach. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be actual warfare. Warfare. It's spiritual warfare. It heightens. It turns up. So prepare your soul for temptation. Hashatan's really going to be pricking after you. He's really going to be plotting and scheming after you now that you stepped away from him in darkness and started walking into light. And see, that's why I said earlier, you know, when we're in these lessons, you want to let the Spirit guide your understanding, because spiritual wickedness can get in anybody's vessel at any given time and off-rail the understanding and edification by asking foolish and unlearned questions, which we were told to avoid in 2 Timothy chapter 2. Spiritual wickedness is very crafty. The reason why spiritual wickedness is very crafty is because Hasatan doesn't have much resources. Hasatan and these fallen angels, they don't have much resources. So they leverage man. They leverage what's called vessels, our bodies. They leverage our minds. They leverage the natural resources of the earth to carry out their schemes and plots. So remember that. They don't have much resources. They're pretty much highly intelligent ninjas. Put it that way. I'll just say that they're highly intelligent ninjas. So just imagine a ninja, how a ninja is so sneaky and tricky, and they have all their little tricks in their bags. That's how these demons are, and that's how Hasatan are. And if you ever seen a demon or an apparition, if you ever seen one, they move just like ninjas. If you ever seen one, they move real quick. You can only catch a glimpse of them from the corner of your eye. So that's the best way to explain them. So once you have that idea and that understanding of spiritual wickedness, you'll know to not lean on your own understanding. You'll know to invite the Holy Spirit to guide you. So that way you're not fooled by such spiritual wickedness, because Hasatan is very intelligent. He's smarter than everybody on this live. He's smarter than any man in existence. He's very smart. And these devils underneath his tutelage are smart as well. Remember, these are entities that have been around since the beginning. They're thousands upon thousands of years old. So they got more wisdom, knowledge, and understanding than any man that's living. Verse 2, set thy heart aright and continually endure, and make not haste in time of trouble. Cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at the last end. So we are supposed to continuously endure and cleave to Yah. No matter what we're going through, we must cleave to Yah. We must continue to follow the path Mashiach has set for us. Right? We got to have that faith, that mustard seed faith. Because see, when you get hit with the circumstances of the world, that's when spiritual wickedness gets in your ear. And then that's when you start to doubt. When that doubt starts to fester, when you start thinking contrary to how Yah wants you to think, when you start thinking contrary to his promises, that's how you know that a demon is in your ear. So that's why I said here in verse 2, to set thy heart aright and continually endure, and make not haste in time of trouble. And verse 3 continues on and says, cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end. If you keep that faith and you know that Yah is going to see you through, he'll eventually see you through no matter what the circumstance is. Verse 4, whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a lower state. And see, that's very hard to do. That's one of the challenges. But we're given the instructions when we're in those times where that doubt starts to creep in and those devils start to speak in your ear. Well, this is the perfect chapter to read in case of an emergency where you have those devils speaking in your ear and you start giving weight to it because you're leaning on your own understanding. Sirach chapter 2. Just crack this open and read through it. Now, you may be able to fight them off by your own rank in the spiritual realm, but you can never go wrong by cracking open the scriptures anytime you feel like that. Anytime you feel or hear doubtful thoughts creeping in to your mind, you can never go wrong by cracking open the book and reading. Because see, during those times when you're being tempted, when you're facing persecution, when spiritual wickedness is in your ear, a lot of times you won't even know what to pray. You wouldn't even know what to pray. And when you're like that, Mashpaka, them devils are beating you down. So when in doubt, just run to the scriptures and start reading some scriptures. It don't go to Psalms. Go to Psalms. Go to the book of Psalms. Crack open any chapter of Psalms and just start reading it in those situations. But here we're going through a key scripture regarding instruction during those times. So let's get back to it. So verse 4 said, whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a lower state. For gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. So there you have it. Gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. So you got to endure and maintain through it, no matter what it is. You got to endure and maintain. Verse 6, believe in him, and he will help thee order thy way aright, and trust in him. Ye that fear Yahweh, wait for his mercy, and go not aside, lest ye fall. See? And that's what spiritual wickedness wants you to do. It wants you to completely forget about the power, guidance, and promise of the Most High and be led astray by their lies and deceit and their seeds of doubt that they plant into your mind and spirit. And see, once you give in to that doubt, you're going the wrong way. You're going down the path of destruction once you give in to that doubt. Continuing on, verse 8, ye that fear Yahweh, believe him, and your reward shall not fail. Ye that fear Yahweh, hope for good and for everlasting joy and mercy. Look at the generations of old. Look at the generations of old and see, did ever any trust in Yahweh and was confounded? Or did any abide in his fear and was forsaken? Or whom did he ever despise that called upon him? So the Most High knows. The Most High knows. And like I said earlier, sometimes you probably don't even know what to pray. All you can probably do is say, help me, Father, help me, Abba. That's all you can probably say. He's taking heed. And depending on your level of faith and obedience, he'll see you through. Verse 11. For Yahweh is full of compassion and mercy, long suffering, and very pitiful, and forgiveth sins, and saveth in the time of affliction. So these are key characteristics of the Most High, Abba Yah. However, many people of the world, they only want to know these characteristics of the Most High. They take these characteristics that we just mentioned here in verse 11. They take that and paint a whole picture just off of those characteristics. But they don't want any of the power or the masculinity of the Most High. They don't want any of his infinite sovereignty. They just want his compassion, his pity, his forgiveness, his love. They just look at all that and they try to avoid everything else, which in turn leads to a lack of fear of Yah. That's what that does. You got to accept Yah for everything he comes with. However, When you're going through it, if you already feel the Most High and you're going through it, this is a key reminder. I'll read it again for emphasis. Sirach chapter 2 and 11, for Yahweh is full of compassion and mercy, long suffering and very pitiful, and forgiveth sins, and saveth in the time of affliction. Now, here's the issue. So now we're going to talk about those who doubt, who give in to the seeds of doubt that is planted by spiritual wickedness during times of adversity. See, it's okay to fall into that from time to time, but you must recover. You don't want to fall into it with the foolish thoughts and then just stay in that state of doubt to where you just lose faith and then you go astray into destruction as spiritual wickedness wants you to do. No. This is why you don't give in to doubt or those seeds of doubt that's planted by spiritual wickedness during times of adversity. Verse 12, woe be to fearful hearts and faint hands, and the sinner that goeth two ways. So what's a sinner that goeth two ways? That's double-mindedness. That's a double-minded person who loves their sins. They're committing wickedness 1 hour and in the next hour they're trying to be good. They serve in Hasatan 1 hour and then they want to serve Yah the next hour. They commit actions of wickedness 1 hour and then actions of righteousness the other hour. That's a sinner who's going two ways. They're double-minded in all that they do. Verse 13, woe unto him that is faint-hearted, for he believeth not, therefore shall he not be defended. So see, that's why spiritual wickedness wants you to give in to those seeds of doubt, because they know as soon as you start doubting Yah and his blessings that he has for you, though you're going through whatever adversity, they know that they got you and that they can lead you down destruction and have you ultimately destroyed. Because if you don't believe and you don't have doubt, then the Most High is going to give you over to that. And then spiritual wickedness is going to do whatever they want to do with you, because the Most High has given them permission by your lack of belief and your doubt. I'll read that again for emphasis. Sirach chapter 2, verse 13. Woe unto him that is faint-hearted, for he believeth not, therefore shall he not be defended. Verse 14. Woe unto you that have lost patience, and what will ye do when Yahweh shall visit you? So that's a reminder that you lost patience. You lost patience during adversity. Yah's not moving like you want him to move, and then you lose patience, and then you act off your own will, or you act off of the doubt that's been planted in your mind by spiritual wickedness. Yeah, it says, woe unto those who have lost patience. Because if you lost patience, then, if Most High just feels like it, he'll pull up on you. He'll pull up on you. And then that's when you're facing very, very dire recompenses, which is happening every day. And if you tune into these live streams enough, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Verse 15. They that fear Yahweh will not disobey his word, and they that love him will keep his ways. So you got to do what he says. Obedience is better than sacrifice. It's better to obey than have to ask for forgiveness. It's better to just listen to the Father and do as you're told than to act contrary and have to ask for forgiveness. Verse 16. They that fear Yahweh will seek that which is well pleasing unto him, and they that love him shall be filled with the law. So if you love the Most High, you're going to be filled with the law. You're going to be filled with his commandments. And that's how you can really tell the difference between a false prophet and an actual prophet of Yah. Because a false prophet is never going to teach you about the commandments. They're never going to encourage you to do the commandments. They're just going to speak a whole bunch of smooth words and falsified lies to you. And there's plenty of false prophets. And the crazy thing about the false prophets are loved among the masses. Yeah, JGD, no. The false prophets are loved among the masses. But the real prophets are hated. The real prophets are called evil. The real prophets are looked at as wicked. But the false prophets, they speak all the smooth words. They speak all the smooth words that you can imagine. They're very polite. They're very kind, but it's all deceptive. They use all that politeness and kindness for deception as a wolf in sheep's clothing. Now, all you all know that with this ministry is the unfiltered truth of Yah. So I'm telling it straight like it is, raw and uncut. So you have many people who will hear that and say, oh, this guy's wicked, he's evil, because I tell it raw and uncut, straight to the point, and to a level that many can relate to without being bougie. Now, I can get on here and be bougie. I can get on here and speak a lot of kind, smooth words to everybody, but many people won't accept that. The ones who really need the ones that really need Yah, they're not going to accept that. They despise the false prophets. Many people who really need Yah despise those false prophets just because of that fake aura that they put out. So you tell it like it is to a level that they can understand. And guess what? They're receiving Yah at the same time. But I digress. Verse 17, they that fear Yahweh will prepare their hearts and humble their souls in his sight, saying, we will fall into the hands of the Lord and not into the hands of men. For as his majesty is, so is his mercy. Now, we're going to go to another chapter here. We're going to go to another chapter. We're going to go to another chapter here. And that chapter is the book of Hebrews, chapter 11. Book of Hebrews, chapter 11. And we're going to add emphasis to everything we just read in the book of Sirach, chapter 2. In the book of Hebrews, chapter 11, starting from the top. Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. For by it the elders obtained a good report. Through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of Yah, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. By faith, Abel offered unto Yah a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, by which he obtained witness that he was righteous, Yah testifying of his gifts, and by it he being dead yet speaketh. By faith, Enoch was translated that he should not see death, and was not found, because Yah had translated him. For before his translation, he had this testimony that he pleased Yah. So here's the thing about Enoch. Enoch pleased Yah so much that Yah took him up to the third heaven by the way of chariots. Enoch was the first prophet to be taken up by chariots. Then you had Elijah. Elijah did the same thing. Elijah was taken up by the chariots of Yah to the third heaven. But more notably, Enoch, who was the first prophet to be taken up by the chariots. So, you know, when you see these when you hear these sci-fi stories, especially these stories were more popular back in the 90s, but you have these heathens talking about, oh, I was abducted by aliens and they had me on a gurney and this and that. That's where they got it from. The story of being abducted by aliens, that's where they got it from. They got it from Enoch being lifted up into the chariots, and the same with Elijah being lifted up by the chariots. That's where they got that from, but they profaned it. And they profaned it by whatever their twisted mind told them to do it or convey the message. But if you don't know now, you know. That's where that came from. The story of being abducted by aliens, it came from Enoch and Elijah being lifted up by the chariots of Yah. But I digress. Verse 6. But without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to Yah must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. Precept upon precept, line upon line. So that goes with Sirach chapter 2, verse 12. Woe be to the fearful hearts and faint hands and the sinner that goeth both ways. Because without faith, you can't please Yah. So it's a woe. If you don't have faith, it's a woe. Without faith, it's impossible to please Yah. For he that cometh to Yah must believe that he is, and he's a rewarder of them that diligently seek them. And that also goes back to Sirach chapter 2, verses 7 through 9. Ye that fear Yah, wait for his mercies, and go not aside, lest ye fall. Ye that fear Yah, believe him, and your reward shall not fail. Ye that fear Yah, hope for good, and for everlasting joy and mercy. And then going back to Hebrews chapter 11 and 6, but without faith it's impossible to please him. For he that cometh to Yah must believe that he is, and he's a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. Verse 7. By faith, Noah, being warned of Yah of things not seen as yet, moved with fear, prepared an ark to the saving of his house, by the which he condemned the world, and became heir of the righteousness which is by faith. By faith, Abraham, when he was called to go out into a place which he should after receive for an inheritance, obeyed, and he went out, not knowing whither he went. By faith, he sojourned in the land of promise, as in a strange country, dwelling in tabernacles with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. For he looked for a city which hath foundations, whose builder and maker is Yah. Through faith also Sarah herself received strength to conceive seed, and was delivered of a child when she was past age, because she judged him faithful who had promised. Therefore sprang there even of one, and him as a good Salakia, and him as good as dead, so many as the stars of the sky in multitude, and as the sand which is by the seashore, innumerable. These all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. For they that say such things declare plainly that they seek a country. And truly, if they had been mindful of that country from whence they came out, they might have had opportunity to have returned. But now they desire a better country, that is an heavenly. Wherefore Yah is not ashamed to be called their God, their power, their Elohim. For he hath prepared for them a city. By faith Abraham, when he was tried, offered up Isaac. And he that had received the promises offered up his only begotten son. So I'm going to stop right there, because there's a lot of taboo with the exercise of Abraham's faith. You know, some people, by the way of spiritual wickedness, they question Yah for telling Abraham to do these things. They question Yah and say that Yah was working wickedness by telling Abraham to sacrifice Isaac. I'm going to tell y'all something right now, Mashbaka. It's not wise. It's not wise to question the Most High on the things he does. It's not wise. Shall the clay say to the powder, why have thou made me thus? Same with anything that we know of the Most High, questioning it and looking at it as if what he does is wrong. What's been recorded that what he does is wrong, that's an act of spiritual wickedness running game on your psyche. Let that be known. And that's also a lack of faith. Your faith is lacking if you can call the Most High wicked for telling Abraham to sacrifice Isaac. Because at the end of it all, he didn't have to sacrifice Isaac, because it was a ram that appeared, or a ram that was right there by the altar that Abraham was prepared to sacrifice Isaac at. It was all an exercise of faith, Mashbaka. And that's how unpredictable things can be when we have to exercise our faith. You walk by faith and not by sight. Verse 18, of whom it was said that in Isaac shall the seed be called, accounting that Yah was able to raise him up even from the dead, from whence all he received him in a figure. By faith Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau concerning things to come. By faith Jacob, when he was a dying, blessed both the sons of Joseph and worshipped, leaning upon the top of his staff. By faith Joseph, when he died, made mention of the departing of the children of Israel, and gave commandment concerning his bones. By faith, Moses, when he was born, was hid 3 months of his parents, because they saw he was a proper child, and they were not afraid of the king's commandment. By faith, Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of Yah than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season, esteeming the reproach of Mashiach greater riches than the treasures in Egypt, for he had respect unto the recompense of the reward. By faith he forsook Egypt, not fearing the wrath of the king, for he endured, as seeing him who is invisible. Through faith he kept the Passover and the sprinkling of blood, lest he that destroyed the firstborn should touch them. By faith they passed through the Red Sea as by dry land, which the Egyptians, essaying to do, were drowned. By faith the walls of Jericho fell down after they were compassed about 7 days. By faith the harlot Rahab perished not with them that believed not, when she had received the spies with peace. And what shall I more say? For the time will fail me to tell of Gideon, and of Barak, and of Samson, and of Jephthah, of the Wad also, and Samuel, and of the prophets, who through faith subdued kingdoms, wrought righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouths of lions, quenched the violence of fire, escaped the edge of the sword, out of wickedness, were made strong, waxed valiant in fight, turned to flight the armies of the aliens. Women received their dead raised to life again, and others were tortured, not accepting deliverance. They that might obtain a better resurrection, Salakia, that they might obtain a better resurrection. And others had trial of cruel mockings and scourgings, moreover, of bonds and imprisonment. They were stoned, they were sawn asunder, were tempted, were slain with the sword. They wandered about in sheepskins and goatskins, being destitute, afflicted, tormented, of whom the world was not worthy. They wandered in deserts and in mountains and in dens and caves of the earth. And these all, having obtained a good report through faith, received not the promise. Yah having provided some better thing for us, that they without us should not be made perfect. So that's Hebrews chapter 11. And the previous was Sirach chapter 2. Now, notate both of these chapters in your notes. Mark them in your Bibles. And the next time you feel confounded because of a certain challenge in your life, if you feel dismayed, just read those 2 chapters. Just read those 2 chapters. And if you need to, read them over and over. Read them throughout the day if you need to. Just meditate on those 2 chapters if you need to. Because the last thing you want to do is allow spiritual wickedness to speak a whole bunch of foolishness into your mind and in your ear. That's the last thing you want. Because when they do that, you can be led astray into falling out of the truth and worse. Let me get another precept here. We're going to go to the book of Romans, chapter 8. We're going to learn a little secret about Ruach Kodash and how Ruach Kodash aids us in these times where we may be confounded because of our challenges. This is Romans chapter 8, verse 26. Well, starting at verse 24. For we are saved by hope, but hope that is seen is not hope. For we are saved by hope, but hope that is seen, Salak. But hope that is seen is not hope. For what a man seeth, why doth he yet hope for? But if we hope for that we see not, then do we with patience wait for it. Verse 26. Likewise, the Spirit also helpeth our infirmities. For we know not what we should pray for as we ought. But the Spirit itself maketh intercession for us with groanings which cannot be uttered. So there you have it. That's why you must remain faithful. Even if you don't know what to pray at that given time, you must stay faithful and you will receive assistance in the spiritual realm. And we've all received that assistance through the spiritual realm, because when we were at our lowest state, when we were confounded and didn't know what to pray for because of a certain problem or challenge, we still somehow made it through. What we needed showed up. What we needed arrived somehow. That change of mindset just happened all of a sudden. Our spirits just lifted up all of a sudden. We were able to carry out the necessary functions and actions to overcome whatever was bothering us. That what happened was Romans chapter 8, verse 26. The Spirit, Ruach Kodash, made intercession. Let's read it again for further understanding. Romans chapter 8, verse 26. Likewise, the Spirit also helpeth our infirmities, for we know not what we should pray for as we ought. But the Spirit itself maketh intercession for us with groanings which cannot be uttered. Groanings that cannot be uttered. You can't even speak what the Spirit is using to help us through. It's unspeakable. And they're groanings. Unspeakable. Jump down to verse 31. Romans chapter 8, verse 31. What shall we then say to these things? If Yah be for us, who can be against us? If Yah be for us, who can be against us? And what else? What else did Akshal talk about here? Verse 37. Or 36 for Comcast. No. 35, verse 35. Who shall separate us from the love of Mashiach? Shall tribulation or distress or persecution or famine or nakedness or peril or sword? As it is written, for thy sake we are killed all the day long. We are accounted as sheep for the slaughter. Nay, in all these things, we are more than conquerors through him that loved us. For I am persuaded that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, nor any other creature shall be able to separate us from the love of Mashiach, Salakia, love of Yah, which is in Mashiach, Yahweh Shah, our Lord. And I'll leave y'all with that. Again, I didn't want to be too long with this. We're a little under an hour. So with that being said, hope everybody who heard this was blessed. If you would like to support, you can support via Cash App. And this link will also be in the comments for you to do so if you wish to do as 2 Corinthians 9:7 suggests. May peace, serenity, and prosperity be multiplied unto you all. Shalom.